This conversation is presented by xoTO and the City of Toronto and originally premiered in person at Canadian Film Fest 2026. As part of CFF's 20th anniversary, the following conversation, Producers Therapy 20 Years of Holding It Together, gets insights from leading producers to talk about what it really takes to build films and careers over time. From scrappy financing and grassroots distribution to today's world of co-productions, streamers, funders, and constant change, this panel digs into how the role has evolved, what stayed the same, and so much more. Consider this an honest, resilient group session for anyone who's ever had to hold it all together while keeping projects and teams moving forward. Cheers, Lauren Grant, Coral Aiken, Karen Harnisch, Stephanie Sonny Hooker, Sonya de Rienzo, and Paula Devonshire. Welcome to the fest.
Hi, welcome. I'm Lauren Grant. I'm a producer here based in Toronto. I produce feature films and feature documentaries, and I get to know lots of these wonderful people and have produced with lots of some of them. And I'm going to get everybody to introduce themselves. And our aim is to be real and not too depressing. Okay, Karen.
Hello. My name is Karen Harnisch. I am a Hamilton, Ontario-based producer. My company is called Film Forge, which I run with a writer-director, Andrew Cividino. We've been in business together since almost 20 years. Exactly 20 years ago, I was in film school at what is now TMU. So it's been almost exactly 20 years of producing.
I incorporated my company on April 1st, 2006.
Ooh, that is amazing. Incredible.
No joke.
No joke. So again, producer of primarily independent scripted films, some television, some service. Learned a lot from a lot of the folks here. So very, very thrilled to be here.
Hi, I am Paula, Devonshire. I am based here in Toronto, and I've born and raised here, actually, which is a bit of an oddity, I think. I was just thinking Film Forge, and you said you're in the Hammer. Like, I don't know if that was coincidental or if that just an after-the-fact happy coincidence, maybe?
Definitely not.
I am a member of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinte. I do a lot of films based in my community and other Indigenous communities. I work largely in film these days, although I have worked in TV a lot. I have worked in U.S. television in the past. And it's just been a busy couple of years. I did 4 films between 2024 and 2025. And now kind of taking a break because that's a lot. So, happy to share my therapy, not my sad times, my happy times with the group.
Hi, I'm Sonya. I'm a producer at a company called Hawkeye Pictures. I run the company with my partner, Aeschylus. We're Toronto-based. We make narrative and documentary content. And fun to be here. Going to aim to be positive.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Sonny Hooker. My company is Home Team Films. I co-own it with my husband, Natty Zavitz. And we do features and shorts, and in between all that, lots of less interesting commercials. And I'm also a writer-director.
Thank you, Sonny. We're trying to make that stick. My name's Coral Aiken. I have I guess it's called a boutique studio, everyone. You all own a studio. Congrats. Mine is called Aiken Heart Films. And probably my claim to fame is I started the producer therapy /hangs email, which we can talk about on this panel. I have a nice movie that's out, just got released last week on VOD. It's called The Well by Hubert Davis. And I'm super duper proud of that one. And I'm excited to talk today, guys.
I know when Jen emailed me the description, I was like, well, Coral has to be on the panel. This is what was a Toronto producer hangout. I feel like maybe your 10th anniversary company party grew into a beast of an email chain that was 99.9% positive. That was incredible through COVID. And I also reminded Coral right before this that, 6 years ago when we were starting lockdown, Coral, Karen, Paula, think Sasha Lee Henry, Mackenzie Donaldson, we all sort of started an email chain of like, oh, there's been so much progress in the industry for, female-led and, historically presently excluded communities. And what's going to happen now? None of us can work. And we wrote, before there was telefilm support, before there was anything, an impassioned letter to the CMPA, which is the producer organization, saying, hey, everything we've been working for the last 5 years, 10 years is going to fall apart unless people pay attention to small companies. The CMPA is actually 70% of membership is made up by companies that have 3 or less people in it. And we're not always the loudest voices, even when we're the majority. And so we felt that was really important. But yeah, I was just thinking about that, prepping for this. I said we were going to start with financing, but I would like to jump to collaboration instead. I think when you've been making films for 20 years, approximately, what you look for in partners, how you work with other people, how you produce with other people, like what's changed and what do you look for now versus then? When I think, at least my feeling was I was so antsy to be like, must make first feature. And then you kind of say yes to maybe things that don't really feel right in your heart that you want to make.
Paula's gonna pick
I
us
don't
off.
have a good answer for that.
I can give an answer.
I married my collaborator, so I don't know.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, for me, it all comes back to just working with good partners. Like I was just saying, I did 4 films in various capacities in the last year. Actually, I should have done a plug for my film. I have a film that I executive produced called Nika and Madison, which is in theaters now. It's at Young and Dundas, so please go see it. And it was at TIFF. But the director of that film is Eva Thomas, who she worked with me on Clarice. And so I had mentored her, and then she said, come back and be an EP on my film. So I think it's all about working with the right people, because if you're going to go through these trials and tribulations and, happy times and sad times, you better do it with people you like, because otherwise it just makes it a lot more pleasurable. I mean, Lauren and I were just saying before this panel, we made a film together 13 years ago, and literally are still making films for the same budget and level in some cases. But, we had a great time. We made a great film. I'm really proud of that film. I'm really, proud of getting to know Lauren and working with her. But if we hadn't had each other, I think that could have been a really horrible experience. So I think for me, it's always about looking at the team, looking at who I want to work with. I don't know if this is answering your question very well, but she just shoved the mic in my hand, so I'm going to talk.
Yeah, but I guess I wonder what has changed for you. Like that, we met through a lab. We sort of started talking about that project. I was already attached. We sort of knew some funding strategy meant we knew we needed to expand our team. And so in a funny way, like how that came together is perhaps maybe not what I would say is a good way, like good motivation to do it, but then it worked out so well that it was wonderful. But obviously you had an incredible reputation at the time, and I'd only made 1 feature and had come up from post and development and financing and way less production experience. And you had I don't know, it was a great compliment, but it was also like, let's go jump in the deep end and see how it goes.
I think if you're going to say what's changed for me is having probably more international access, because back then, 13 years ago, we were all trying to cobble together our Canadian funds and figure out how to make a movie and figure out how to get dispensation. And now that, we have more experience, we've been to more markets, we've traveled out there, found great partners in many cases, like that has changed. Sometimes the budgets don't change much, but I feel like we have more access to cast. We have more access to getting our films out there, so just, I feel for me in the last 13 years, that's the big change, is I've actually kind of made, I'm still a small fish in a big pond, but at least people know who I am out there.
I think too, because for me at least, I like different challenges and new challenges, and that's one of the positive things about being in this industry. You can always have, you can always grow and have new challenges. So I think it's important to keep growing and to look for different opportunities. Every project is different, the locations, the team. So always being able to find something different. And as Paula said, maybe looking for international opportunities, always growing, always trying to do something different or doing it better. There's always, you're always looking to find something new in it, which is part of what makes this industry fun, I think.
I would just add, when I started, I was trying to prove myself, trying to prove that I could do something and prove to myself as much as to anybody else. So the first projects that I chose to produce were ambitious on the page, and they were choices I made largely based on like the scripts that I just happened to be sent, or that that were shared with me, folks that wanted, or needed an emerging producer to kind of help them get their thing made. And now, now I know exactly how much we give when we make something. Like choosing to produce something is choosing to give like literally years, maybe decade or longer of your life to something. And so much of the labor of that, which is also emotional labor as much as it is like practical, just like hours in the day labor, it's speculative. Like we don't get paid until the very end if everything goes right. And
if we get paid.
If we get paid at all. And not to say that it's about getting paid, although that is an important component of it.
Yes, it is. We live in capitalism.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like if that was my only priority, probably would have made better choices about what I spent my life doing.
Same.
But, now I'm so much more careful about what I say yes to, because I need to feel like I'm going to enjoy the highs and lows of going on that journey for literally years / a decade of my life with the people. The right partners are the people that you're like, I know that in the worst moments, I'm still going to be having a good time and feel like I'm rowing in the same direction as this person.
And I mean, one of the questions is always, do we make each other better?
Yeah.
So that's an important thing to think about, I think.
I'm curious, and maybe Coral and Steffi, like, how do you, like, for me, the shift has been, I used to say script first. All three had to be yeses for me to say yes to a project: script, the people, and do I see a path to production? Because sometimes you read a great script and it's a first feature and the script is like a $6 million thing. So to me, the path to production is almost impossible. I, in 20 years, have switched to people first, then script second, and then path to production, because it's a long road.
I feel like I've got to have two of those three to be able to do it. And I don't know if I necessarily would hierarchy it, but definitely the people, I think, if I had to pick, is the most important. You're saying, it's just a decade of working with some people, and you need to be on a team where, you can have a productive argument, and you can find the path to production. And, if it's not this year, it's next year, and be able to push it if you need to, or do it immediately if you also need to.
I think what's changed for me over time is that I don't want to do it anymore, but that's a bit different than everybody else on the panel. I don't take on a project.
You're doing it in a different way, though. You are still in this business.
Well, I used to have one very time-consuming hobby and one job. So I am a line producer, which means the person who loves to have difficult conversations all day long. So I've spent a lot of your money over here, I'm sure, on things. But I don't think it values us to be told to reinvest our fees. And I would like everyone to say no next time that happens. I have not reinvested my fees, which is why I've made less movies than everybody in the last few years. But yeah, I think when we're talking about broader sustainability themes, we need to stop working for free when the project is funded by the government, because that's illegal. I am a criminal. Lock me up. And in terms of collaborators, I can only say find a Hubert Davis in your life. I was very traumatized from many bad experiences over the years, and he healed me. He saved me by being an incredible collaborator. And I guess I know what I'm looking for a bit now. And what you're talking about, the strategy and the path, I just have to say, are we making the same movie? Are you and I making the same movie? Are you going to want to do as much prep as I know you need to do to take full advantage of those 20 days? That has not changed. We only ever get that much time to make a movie still. And it's fine also to step away from a project that isn't coming together. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that that project has ended. And I've had a lot of projects that end in development, and that's fine. So if somebody's thinking right now, that guy really is an asshole, I don't want to work with them, get out now.
I think that's great advice. So about the so you're going to say something about choosing partners.
I think I'm doing a reverse Coral because someone has to. Someone's going to have balance in this world. But I started out as a line producer, and it's a great job. And it's a job where you get paid. And if you're on the right shows, you can work on some really cool shows, and you can, pay your mortgage and go on vacation and have months of the year off. And I celebrate you, and I'm a wee bit jealous. But I started off that way because at the beginning, I was like, I need to be established. I've come out of the Canadian Film Center. I want people to know who I am because I was an editor formerly before that, and I just wanted to change people's perceptions of me. So I was just like taking every job that I got to pay my mortgage because I was an early home buyer and I was like mortgage focused. And so I was just taking every job, service productions, and then I paid that mortgage off, and I'm like, oh. And now I'm like taking films and making no money because I'm doing the films that I love. So one of my films I made $500 on, but I really wanted to support that film. So I'm reversing. We're having balance in the universe. But sometimes your priorities change because I feel like I'm in a fairly financially stable place now after those years of doing service production, whereby now I feel like I can pick those films that I really love. And some of them, sometimes you get lucky and they actually have a budget and you can get paid, but more often than not, they're not. So you just got to find a balance, I guess. But yeah, a wee bit envious of going back to those days.
No, it's so interesting. I think, but what do you have, I think another producer that could have been here, but she's Vancouver based and currently in France, always tells me to hire slowly and fire quickly. And it's Lori. It's like great. I was like, it's great advice. I agree that there's two things. I think when you're starting out, there's a lot of pressure to look for the people ahead of you to work with. But like so many of us came up together, and I look at the people ahead of me in their career and coming up behind me, and they're also doing that. Like they might have an EP or they have support or they're doing things. But I'm curious about this discussion of like finding great collaborators, like for people in the room, like how many people are directors? How many people are producers? How many people are producers and that's their job and they're not just a hyphen and have to do it because no one will produce a movie for them yet? Okay, cool. It's fine. I'm just saying there is a difference. That's not a weighted difference, but I'm curious this idea of like finding your collaborators. Like, what does that look like for you all in those early conversations? How do you know now? Besides, is like personally, there is a gut element to it for sure. That's just come over time. But I'm curious how you all sort of assess. Yes,
I think trial and error was sort of how like I learned what my gut needed. Like you. I think working on short form projects with someone first is a great way to figure that out because then you're not locked in for that 10, 12 year period with someone that you don't like. But yeah, I mean, I think jumping off of something early is also giving that person an opportunity to find someone new that they can work with if they are going to continue the project. And then also like reprioritizing projects where maybe you're going after something and you're really trying to make it work for a couple of years and it's not working, but it's later, it could happen later in your slate where it's because of the size of the budget or the access to cast that you need or all those things, because every time you do a festival or every time you go to a market, you are setting yourself up really for the next project, for people to like answer your call. And I think, I don't have, other than the gut check, which is, a couple of meetings deep, you've got to figure that out, but get involved in something slowly, I think.
I think it's really, for me, I used to think about it much more in the way that I thought about making new friends. Like now I don't, like I often end up becoming very close friends with my collaborators, but there is really a difference between a collaborator and your like best pal, and they don't have to be your best friend in order for the collaboration to be successful. And in fact, sometimes for life balance reasons, it's good if there's a bit of a division between your personal life and your work life. So now when I'm, considering working with somebody that I haven't worked before, of course, it's all the things that you've talked about, right? Like the the material, the script, my understanding of how it fits into the market reality of, I think now I'm much more focused on market-driven filmmaking than I was 20 or 15 years ago. But that, that kind of like frank discussion about learning, in the same way we have learning styles, we have working styles. And I like to get to know filmmakers' working style before I commit to the long term of producing for them, especially for a long format project, just because if you don't have a similar working style or a compatible working style to somebody, it can be actually quite a difficult process. You can get on each other's nerves. You can sort of let each other down in ways that are not malicious or intended, but are just the result of having very different ways of going about doing things.
I have to say, in the past, I've been envious of people that met their collaborators in school because you grow together. And I think that's a really wonderful thing. You know each other from very early on. And I didn't quite have that, having come up a certain way. So I think there's something to be said for just the time that it takes to really get to know someone. And I always say this, that it's, you have to learn a director because you know how to bring them ideas and how to bring them, every kind of creative thought in a certain way. So there's something to be said for time and being able to get to know that person through development, maybe through school. So having time to grow is really a great thing if you can have that. And oftentimes you'll see even big directors and producers are working together all the time. Finding that, that little team that works really well together can be really useful. But having said that, if you don't have that, hopefully you have enough time that, where you have the opportunity to, get to know what, and maybe as a producer, you have that ability to kind of zero in on what will get through to the creative, how you can have that conversation without, rocking their vision, or, how you can really collaborate. So that's a skill that I think gets developed as you go through different relationships. And it's kind of a wonderful skill to also have in life. But going forward, and it changes what you're looking for in the same way that our goals, our careers change. So for me personally, going forward, I'm looking for people that are creative, that are kind, and that have depth. So those are the three things that I'm looking for now. If you're out there, call me.
I wish I could tell you that after many years doing this, that I could now pick great collaborators and they're amazing and everything. And sometimes they are, but what I still have to learn, and I'm still learning even after all this time, is meeting people at a market or at a festival. And even though you might spend a year or something hanging out with them and they seem really great and they've got great ideas and they've got great scripts and they seem really kind, they actually can't do the work. And I've had that happen to me so many times. And I advise you all to ask every single person you can ask about your potential collaborator if you don't know them well. Because there's lots of people that I would be happy to be friends with still, but I don't ever want to make a movie with them again. And I would ask anyone who's worked with them before. I would ask funders who've worked with them. And just because I'm very honest, if you ask me about someone I've worked with, I will tell you, because I don't want to put someone through the things that I've been through. And I'm looking at Lauren because she's one of the few lovely ones that we actually didn't know each other super well when we made a movie together, and actually our friendship grew amazingly strong because we were really great partners and really worked well together and have become great friends as a result of that film. But sometimes I've worked with friends and then I'm like, oh God, what have I done? So I would just suggest really do your due diligence and check everything, check with everyone you can.
Yeah, and just to add, I think what you were all saying, that it is also a job. So I think professionalism is really important. Mm-hmm. People should be professional. You shouldn't treat each other in a way that you wouldn't in a normal professional industry, right? So I think it's really important to have respect. And I think the new generation really gets that, but can never say it enough.
Even if you're friends, still maintaining that professional boundary. And I've learned, establishing how we're communicating is that only an email about work, because then if you're friends with the person, it bleeds into we're texting, we're on WhatsApp, you're calling me all the time. And I'm happy to have creative conversations with my friend / collaborator. but at the same time, we need to have a boundary. So I like to be like, okay, work, we're only emailing about it because then I can ignore you after a certain time in the day. And then we can be friends in text message. But I also think a skill you develop as a producer is like being honest quickly with somebody, and that can be hard with a friend because you know, like, oh, I'm going to activate this piece of their psyche when I tell them that they can't have that or we can't do that. And so if it's a new person that you're working with, just like, figuring out very quickly, if you can be honest with that person very quickly, is important because you have to have I don't think brutally honest, but very honest conversations all the time.
One thing that I've learned to do for the sake of boundaries and like balance in life is when I'm doing a movie with somebody, once I've decided to do it, we kind of, I try to manage expectations early about timelines because directors, especially, they're like, I want to make this movie yesterday. And that's always the answer. And the truth is that most movies are going to take literally years to get financed. So if you can't be on the same page with somebody about the reality of the financial climate, I think it's a really difficult place to start from. So what I do is when we're in that sort of development into packaging, trying to get cast attached, something's not yet financed, I will set a regular meeting about the project and the kind of goals that we have, whether it's like a short-term goal, like a funding application deadline, or a long-term goal, like being fully financed or fully packaged. Like I calibrate the frequency of the meeting to the kind of long or short-term nature of the goals that we have. So if something is just in development, that regular meeting might be monthly. Mm-hmm. It might be a little more frequent if we're working towards like a script deadline or something. If we're in packaging, maybe it's bi-weekly. So we're like trying to go out to cast. If we're, in the late stages of packaging or getting financing closed towards getting a green light, it might be weekly. And then you have this little box that project lives in. And that doesn't mean you don't do work on it outside of that time. You absolutely do. Everybody kind of has their hit list of to-dos, but it helps everybody stay on the same page about the expectations around kind of commitment, timeline, to get answers on things. And it helps like prevent the bleed into the rest of your life, which most collaborators, as well-intentioned as they are, don't always think about the fact that you have like 7 other films that you're trying to do things with, or that you are in various stages of, baking or eating. So it's a lot. It's a big volume. Yeah. To be sustainable as a Canadian independent film producer means you have to have many balls in the air at any given time, which is extremely difficult to do well. And that's, I think, something that I wish more collaborators were understanding of.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting. I know that you do that, and I'm fascinated because I, like you said, Stephanie, have a long time collaborator, and it really broke up over like, I can't have your non-urgent text at 7 p.m. on Sunday every week. I know you just had that thought. Write it down somewhere else. Also, Gmail, schedule send. I did all my catch up on my submissions last night. I'll schedule send for 8 a.m. today. I don't need any of you to know that I was reading at 10 o'clock. And I think it's really interesting about setting those, the whole concept of boundaries is usually the only people who are annoyed with your boundaries are people who are breaking your boundaries. Like most other people are like, yeah, many of us up here have kids. It's like we all went through COVID where like, we were at home and parenting and teaching and running businesses.
Dark time.
Dark. So dark. I think I'm finally over PTSD. This snow day this year, I was like, I don't feel triggered. Yay, I'm there. 6 years later. So yeah, I think that's really important. And I think that comes to the piece of financing and talking about how, where we started and it being maybe a little more scrappy versus international partners. But what I think the part that I wonder if creates friction between that idea of us and maybe directors is how much, there's a whole ecosystem. We're in it. We're always being pitched to, but we're also pitching up to other buyers. And maybe it's like a lack of understanding of how that juggle works. Like I'm always fascinated when people think like you're going to submit to like a broadcaster and they're going to tell you in a few weeks. It's like, nothing goes quickly in this business. So I'm curious in sort of like where things have shifted from sort of maybe early, I don't want to get too into the weeds on financing because that's not what this panel's about, but like the sort of early financing structures, maybe what you're seeing, what's shifting, and how that relates to the changing job of a producer, including that pressure to like put in all our fees. And how you can be upfront with people early on. Like, how do you communicate that?
I had a thought just now that sort of ties into the last thing we were talking about, but is also part of this, is that I think this is a more tangible takeaway for the gut check of how to work with someone is usually in the notes conversation when someone sends me like their screenplay is where I get to know the person, right? Like how do they take the notes? Do they want to take the notes? Like, what is that response emotionally from them is a good way to gut check the person. And like, did you feel comfortable delivering the notes? You know, like, is that someone you can collaborate with? I think that that's a low stakes way to check in with yourself and the person. And a tangible moment when it happens. But then it also ties into what we're talking about now in this question, because I think it's also where you can have those conversations. Like, okay, this like, chase scene, like for the amount of money that we're going after and the realistic part of like our profiles as director, producer, writer, and who we want to attach as cast, like, are we going to be able to afford that? Does that need to happen in a different way? Like, that can be tied to giving that note can also be tied to, what's the emotional heart of this scene? Like, why can it happen in a different way? And I think that both of those things can happen as a gut check in that conversation before you are attached to the project.
I agree so much. My philosophy 100% is if I'm considering a script, I will have a notes call, because in my mind, I'm thinking, well, how will you behave on day 4 of production when we haven't made our days yet? So I'm always like, because that's where the real gremlins come out, I have found. I'm like, oh, wow. You can be upset, you can be stressed, we can be dealing with a problem, but if you're like mean, it's hard to like we're all on our best, you're dating, somebody's best behavior. But I think that's great. Yeah, agreed. Putting that idea of like, I'm going to give you feedback. One, it checks, are we making the same movie? Because often sometimes people are like, well, I was thinking this, and it's like, that's cool. I didn't get that from it. So I'm just like not the right person for you. We're not going to try to make this fit, but also to see how they react 100%. Because it's like, that's just the beginning. And yeah, the budget thing, this is my plug. My movie Modern Horror is coming out in May. Thanks. And when we first met, Nicole and Andrea, and it's a very special, because I think lots of us had those experiences. Sometimes we make a movie and it's a great experience, and then maybe it doesn't do as well as we want. And sometimes we make a movie and it's a bad experience and it does well, and we're all there with our very good acting smiles on stages. And sometimes, in Modern Horror is this for me, it's a great experience to make. Not easy, but a great experience to make, and it's a great experience after. And it just feels so special now because I know I've had it before, but I've also had the others. But when they first came to me, we talked budget. And it was the one thing that the number was like not a number you can raise for docs in US or Canada. Like, it was really big. And I remember saying like, I love this, I love this, I love this. This is amazing. I don't think we can raise that money. Not even just a first feature, a doc, all these things. And if that's like what you want, then you find a producer who tells you they can. But I would also argue they might not be telling the truth. And we decided to make the movie because I was honest, because I was right away being like, this can't drag on as a secret I keep from them, where I'm like, we're never raising that kind of money. And we didn't come close. We raised actually about what I thought we would raise. So yeah, I think that's amazing. I'm curious about other responses on the financing and all those pieces coming together.
Financing is really easy. I don't know what they're talking about. It just comes from the sky.
Warren said he's bringing like a wheelbarrow of money later. Yeah.
We all get paid a lot to be here. Warren is rolling in it.
Sign me up.
I really like working with people who know how to get rejected. I started my career as a dancer, and they just put in, like my friend's little son said, when? But because I look different. But so, when you're used to prancing around with a number on you and people are like, to the back, number 289, like I know how to be rejected. It's, you don't have to burn the place down when you get rejected. So if you're working with someone, also maybe you're just doing that short to check things out and you get that first rejection, that's a wonderful time to check in on if you want to be with them for 10 years. Also, even this project with Hubert Davis, first Black Canadian nominated for an Oscar, we were rejected by every single fund, more than once. Every fund, every single fund. So really, you have to be patient and you have to just stay committed to each other. There were many times in this process where Hubert and I were like, if we didn't get paid, we could make it today. And he would say, but we can't do that. So let's keep going. We had to wait for a fund to be created by CMF. And then we were rejected by it. And then I sent them a long email about how they should change everything. And then they changed like a tiny little bit of it. And then we got it the next year. Hooray. But patience. Even if you have the best, you are going to get rejected from everything. Just so you know, you get rejected from everything. And then you'll just see my little face, like, just be like, it's okay, you guys, like, it's fine. Get rejected. But try to treat the people well in your world when that happens. The other thing I would say about finding collaborators, as a line producer now, I hire everybody. So when I find a DP or a production designer that I don't know, I don't call who's on their thing that they tell me to call. I look and I'm like, do I know anyone? Do I know you? Or did you work with them? So do a ton of research with your producer if you're looking for producers like that too, and for your directors. And just practice getting rejected. Just like try for something that you don't even want so that you could be like, oh, well.
There's a thing in fiction writing, but I can't remember who did it. Credit to who this is. It's like 100 rejections a year, you know? And I get 100 no's to get a yes. And I'm like, now treat my rejections as like, oh, one more closer. Tick.
I treat them as like, even if it was for a job or a program, because you should also be doing professional development too. That's how we all got to know each other. I've been rejected from so many things. You just have to be like, why did I want this so badly? Or if you see someone else got the thing you wanted to get, you have to just be happy for that person. You cannot take it personally because you might get it next time. You know, you really have to like think about the context of how many people are making movies. So many people are making it. And I think it's really important that it's been opened up to more people. But there's a lot of competition right now, and it's going to be growing, which I want. I want more filmmakers. You know, this should not be a closed door situation. Everybody has experiences to share. So yeah, there should be more.
I think we are, to kind of come back to the financing thing, like, and this ties to what Coral was saying, there is no path now. Like, paths are a fallacy, they're a fantasy. Like, yes, as a producer, do I think about, like, is there a path to get this made? Certainly, there are certain elements that I look for. But when we talk about there being like a well-trodden path to getting a green light, getting fully financed, getting a project made on the basis of its merits, that does not exist in our current reality, in our current climate. And I say that with the complete knowledge or the acknowledgement that I'm a Canadian producer, which privileges me like more than almost any other passport I could have in terms of access to co-production, access to funding. But that funding is so scarce right now. There are so many filmmakers who deserve to be making films because they are excellent filmmakers with important things to say. And there is simply not enough to go around for all of those voices. And so when I'm trying to get something made, I'm always considering the reality that the path is a mirage, right? And so it's just about, okay, what are all the things that I could be doing in this period of time to try to push this forward? And it's like, you know, watching my favorite movie growing up was that Mount Everest IMAX film that I watched at the Ontario Science Center because I was a huge nerd. And I just like imagine that like they're like the camera looking down as the boots are like going over the like ladder that's going over the crevasse on its way to, I'm like, that's what I'm doing. That's my life. It's just this, and it's like satisfying to get to the other side of the crevasse knowing that you still have like 3 kilometers or whatever of ascent that you have to do without oxygen. Making movies is like being a rocket scientist trying to launch a rocket, but without any NASA money. Like, you don't have the NASA money.
Okay, picture Coral when you get rejected, and then imagine climbing Mount Everest. I love this. More visuals. No pressure, Sonya.
I don't have any truths. I was just going to say that the pre-sale side of financing has dropped out, is a big part of it. So that's been one big change due to a number of factors that we could have a whole panel about, but that's a big part of it, is that, it's not that nothing is selling, but certainly pre-sales are very difficult. So it's a whole chunk of money that is is very difficult to get, because what do you need? Cast? Like it's a massive and really massive, like big, and maybe the genre. That's a big thing that has changed due to, again, all the factors that we could get into, streaming, all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
I think there's no clear path anymore, and that the get a piece of financing, get a piece of cast, like it's all very interchangeable at this point, and whatever you have access to. It's like, do you have a friend who's a rising star? Like, attach them. Like, do you know, like, what is going to make your movie happen? Like, call that person who maybe can help you find $10K to put in, and then you can go around saying, I have a private investor. Like, you need to, like, I'm not saying to lie, but I'm not saying not to lie. That you need a first, like, everybody is so risk averse that you can't get that first piece in, and you need to really go out there very, very, very confidently that, I'm in touch with this person's agent and we're having conversations about attaching them. Like, if you're doing that, say it. Like, the first piece is very, very, very hard. So whatever you need to do to get that first piece is how everything else opens up.
I found myself having a hilarious conversation with an Irish producer who had asked me to come on as a minority Canadian to a production. And I said, well, we need to scramble for the next telefilm deadline so that we can get our first no. And then they're like, what are you talking about? And I said, well, this has been my path forward of all the films I get financed. I apply, I get a no automatically, no matter how good it is. And then if the next time I go around, I get, well, it's not no, we're going to put you on this wait list. And then I eventually get a no. And then the third time I apply, if I'm lucky, I get a yes after much sort of guilting and email saying, I'm going to lose all of my other financing I've raised if you don't give me a yes. And I said, that is my path forward these days. And the Irish producer was just like, I was going to swear, but the cameras are on. And he was just, had a lovely Irish colloquialism. And he was just like, I can't believe it works like that. And I said, yep, that's pretty much how it works for everybody. So it's not the path that it used to be, where you used to be able to go to a broadcaster maybe, more easily before, get a broadcast pre-sale to leverage that, to get your distributor on board, to leverage that, to get telefilm, and then everyone else would hopefully follow. And now telefilm is like last in. Everyone wants to be last in, and everyone can't be last in. So it just is this impossible path now.
The volume thing is not something to be ignored.
That's my positive speech.
When we made Webbum, we applied for production in 2013. And I remember at the time, Ontario Regional had 40 applications. Now, granted, some of those will maybe be like truly not ready, but still 40 applications, and they were going to fund 7 Ontario films. Last year, Ontario Regional had 106 applications, and I think they funded 9. That's just
but we got it, though, because we fibbed. We said Christopher Plummer was going to be in the movie, so they funded us.
No, but we got like 5 cents, and then my other movie fell apart. Oh, okay. And I gave back money. Oh. And then we said, please give some of that money to our movie. And they didn't give it at all. They just gave us a little more. Remember that?
That was your telefilm money, not the Ontario Crates money.
No, it was Telefilm. Oh, sorry, it's named Telefilm. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the Ontario
Crates.
Creates money. We said, we had like this vague email from Christopher Plummer saying that maybe he liked the script, and we leveraged that to, yes, he's attached. And then that was our first money in, which was Ontario Creates, who used to be a first money in kind of person.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you all to fib, but sometimes you need to
We had talked to his
elaborate the
people.
truth.
Anyway,
Yes.
we also talked to them
he
again
did read
later.
the script.
I did read the script.
I think it's really important talking about financing to talk about the casting process, because
Yeah.
it is like one and the same. And there is this, what you said about nobody wants to be the first or second or third in, everybody wants to be last in. Distributors are the same, and so are cast, right? Yeah. So what our job is, and I would never represent if I'm talking to a rep that my project is fully financed if it's not. But what I do is I talk to them like they're a little baby that doesn't understand anything about the path to get it made in the simplest terms possible, right? So it's a co-production. It'll be telefilm, and it'll be this, and it'll be that. It'll be great. It'll be wonderful. We'll get it all done by next fall. Like, it's just like, you just have to sound so confident that it's all going to work out.
I'm
even
so
though you're
bad at this.
Totally not. And that's how they like, reps as by design, they are supposed to be gatekeepers, right? They're trying to keep out all the bullshit and only let in the things that are real, that are like going to result in deals, that are going to result in, career moves for their clients. And so your job is to like get through, like you're swimming upstream, right? I'm not going to go there with the analogy, but that's the analogy, right? It's like, it's just the way that it is. And so and it's not fibbing, right? It's like, this is the path in the simplest terms possible, because the complexity of it will totally freak everybody out and make them think that it's never going to happen. But if you can boil it down to its most sort of elemental parts and walk them through, that will help at least to squeak the door open a little bit, so that hopefully you can get somebody to read.
The U.S. reps are always like, what?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean when I say you need to talk to them like they're little babies. They're like little babies who are always really hungry to go out for a really nice bougie lunch, right?
I kind of have a question for everyone else.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Go with
that. There's always a gap. Yeah. There's always a gap. Sometimes even after you make it and you screen it, there's a gap. What are we doing about the gap?
I think this is like, so Paula and I met in TIFF Studio when it used to be for producers, the first year in 2012. Yeah, Picture Day premiered at TIFF. And I remember Cassian Elways coming in, who's like a huge American agent and package person. And he's like, yeah, in the US, we make our films 25% gap, 25% pre-sales, 25% tax credits, and 25% equity. That's what we do. At the time, that was correct. But it fell out so fast. And I think this is the problem with the gap. And this is something that I lament on the CMPA feature film committee all the time, is you want to, sure, we're doing talent to watch. You get to make your movie, you get paid $5,000. But a lot of the whole point is you're new. And by being new, it means you don't have that much experience. But when I made my first movie, I'd already worked at a production company for years. I'd closed financing, I'd closed the bank, I'd done tax credits. I knew how it all worked. So having it all on my shoulders was the first time, but no part of the job was the first time I'd done it. Now at Talent to Watch, my criticism, and I support lots of those films, is it's your first time. So the gap thing, I think, is becoming such an issue because part of the issue is it's our fees. It's always our corporate overhead, and now it's also our producer fees. But by not getting paid corporate overhead, it means I don't have staff year-round, which means I'm not training the next me because I can't afford to. And that has changed because I've got paid corporate overhead on our earlier movies, and I haven't in the last multiple films, including some bigger budget ones. And I think the gap is, I think that's the issue. I think like Coral, you get to that moment of jumping and say, no, this financing is falling apart. I'm not getting paid $0. Or you say, it's worth it. And that's the part I think newer producers and newer directors don't understand, that the level of risk is astronomical because we're not getting paid And we're guaranteeing bank loans.
And we personally guarantee bank loans in this country, which the Europeans were like, oh, what? So, yeah, I agree with all of that, Lauren. I think
We mind the gap. We mind
the gap. In terms of talent to watch, that's a big swing and a miss. That is not enough money to make a movie. I will tell you, as your best friend line producer, it's not enough. You can make maybe 10 to 15 days. Everybody's going to have to work for free. The problem with everybody who can and is privileged enough to be able to work for free is that we get a movie from people who can afford to work for free. I'm not saying that projects that have come out of this are a problem, but I think we are setting people up to fail with this budget level, and I think they should turn it into a short film fund. Honestly, guys, you stop applying to it. It was made by someone who has rich parents, and that would be awesome if we all had rich parents and that's how we all made our movies. And that's what is the danger in the next 20 years. If we really have created the absolute smallest budget possible, based on advice from someone who could afford to do it, and then we put every single non-cis white het man movie inside of that. And then they're like, look at the numbers, we did it. We didn't do it. Mm-hmm. That's a major screw up. We should not have talent to watch. And I don't know. I'm going to work on it. Don't worry about it.
Okay, I have a lot to say about this, but I'll keep it short because I just did a talent to watch. Like that was my last feature. It's not enough to make a movie ethically. I'll add to that. And as the producer, I didn't apply for that. I was the production manager of the film because I met my friend. I met her. She'd already applied for it with a couple of other producers who, as one of the stipulations, you can't have made feature films before. And so part of that is you're handing over this not small, but not enough amount of money to make a film to people who've never managed it before. And there's no check-ins along the way about what's happening. Actually, I'm saying that from when I did it, but there's no check-ins along the way.
Now the NSI, I'm going to support too. The NSI now... No, you are a paid EP mentor and you're paid through the NSI, so it's no longer coming out of people's budgets.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm 4
from,
years before that.
Yeah. That's new because I EP'd Aaron's Guide to Kissing Girls during COVID and there was none of that.
Yeah. So that was around when we did ours, a year before. So then I did come on as producer of that film and Telefilm supported us a little bit more because it was post-COVID. We had to pause and then get it back up. And it's an excellent chance to make your first feature. The only way to do it is to make a movie that you can do within 10 days, which also is, creatively stunting you. And I think, like you're saying, they have squished all the BIPOC people into that lane. I also just applied for regional funding for my first feature, and thank you. As writer-director, my first feature as writer-director. Partially because of that, I feel like as a producer who's made feature films, I shouldn't have to start at Talent to Watch, but was told by Telefilm that is not a normal path. But how are we supposed to make great movies if we can only make them for $7? So, So Talent to Watch was a great opportunity for me because I did get that feature did get into TIFF, but it's also I am still in debt to that film. So.
Can I help us pivot to the last question? Because I think it's important.
Yes.
Because I think it connects to what you're saying about this is the producer therapy piece. The why we need each other and how do we create spaces where this industry can thrive.
Should I start with the chain?
The what?
Email chain?
Okay, go.
I was like, oh man, it was 2018. I was like, oh man, producing's so lonely. This is so boring. I hate it so much. What am I going to do? And then I was like, what if everyone came to a bar, though? That would make it sad, but, with beers. So I just emailed a bunch of people. I was like, hey, everybody, I'm going to go do this. No directors allowed. Come and complain about things, except producer directors. And thank you. Yeah, it was really awesome. I'm really a community organizer of sorts. So I wrote this email, and then somebody was like, does anybody have ideas about where to rent stairs or something weird? I don't know. And then it became a thread that just kept going and going. And in preparation for this, I was looking. So I moved here from Winnipeg. I didn't know anyone. I came to do my master's at York in film. I didn't have a degree in film. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what I was doing. So, I had to build my community here very much. And from that thread, 2 years later, we had a couple, get-togethers. And then Matt Grayson wrote, anybody feeling a little weird about what's going on out there, in March 2020? And then it became a really nice spot for us all to talk about what we were doing. And that was like people making huge TV shows, people making tiny things, but we're all producers. We're all trying to get this stuff made. So that was awesome. And I think we need to start it again. It got a little too big, actually. Some people wanted to talk to the manager, and there wasn't one. But really, find each other. You're not competing with each other, just so you know. Like, we're not all competing with each other. When Karen has something great happen to her, we're all there to celebrate. But just keep making things. Keep making things with people who like making stuff. Like, I knit this sweater. Like, I like making things. I don't care that it's a movie or a thing. Thank you so much. Local shop UKnit is the knitting place. Yeah, do you go there? So, guys, find each other. It is hard, but it's also very funny. And your new saying is going to be, that's annoying. Actor drops out of the film. That's annoying. You lose your location for day one on the day before day one. Well, that's annoying. But then you can text your friend Lauren and be like, guess what happened? And she's like, that's annoying. So really, we are in it together. Give people your stuff to read. There is no, we're not proprietary in that way. You have to just, reach out, talk to each other, especially people you're coming up with, and try and do some of those professional development things. You deserve it. You deserve to be in the room. I know if you haven't thought that before, I'm telling you now, you can do it. You can be there. This is not just for certain people. This is for you as well. So remember that, okay? A little face. Get rejected.
We were in a group, a filmmaker moms group. Oh, cool. Is that post-COVID? Where we did meetups in the park and could talk about work and not working and trying to balance being a mom and a producer and bringing your baby to the market and all of those things. I think, like you're saying, building that community and just talking to each other and not being shy or scared with talking about your project. Nothing is a secret. No other producer, I'm going to say this across the board, producer, writer, director, any filmmaker is going to steal your script or your idea and then spend a decade of their life making it. See, it's laughable, but people are so can you sign this NDA before you? Yeah. And it's sure, but so just don't be let anyone who will read your screenplay is a gift as a producer, writer, director, and take those notes and consider them. And there's a reason why they said it. So yeah, but find community, and that goes for your finance plan, your budget, talk to other people, because I would not have I didn't go to film school. I've gone through some professional development stuff, but none of those things you come out with here's a template and here's how to use a budget and here's how to put together a finance plan and who to call when this goes. The only places that I've learned those things is talking to other producers who were willing to pick up the call and talk to me for 15 or 20 minutes about the gap. The gap.
I'm a big fan of therapy. Therapy's great. I've been in therapy since I was a tween. But isn't it weird in our culture that that's the only place where we're authentically ourselves and all of our messy, ugly,
But also,
hurt.
it's the group chats.
No, but this is what I'm saying.
I
Like,
have my messy, authentic. Our group, our producer group, we have a text group now. It's smaller. It's a little more contained.
Yeah.
And it's chaotic, but very helpful.
very helpful and also cathartic and also funny. But this is where it's like our society now is so community starved, right? Like this is a community here, but we really haven't built natural moments for community into our daily lives. And, I'm sure some of you probably have made efforts to do it. I certainly have. And especially now that I'm a mother, that's been a big part of my quality of life is finding community on that side of my life. But I mean, having community, broadly speaking, part of your routine is so essential to your well-being. And I think that's what producer group therapy was. I think through the darkest times of the pandemic, it was our lifeline to each other. And it's such a weird, specific job, film producing, TV producing. It's like very few, like nobody else in my real life like knows anything about what I
parents
do.
still ask
Even
me.
my partner who like overhears all of my annoying phone calls literally has no idea what I do. And he's always perplexed that I would do it. So having these people in my life that I can like go to with a draft financing plan or a woe or like depression or like whatever my issues are. And I say that with the full realization that I earlier told you to like have good boundaries. But now I'm like, really, we don't have great boundaries all the time. I honestly think it's amazing.
But not with other producers.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah, I agree. It's not the same as producers of like the lamenting, like when there's
You find your people.
You find your people. But I
And
think that's the
then
real thing. Find
you're
your
yourself
people.
with your people. Yeah.
I think find your people, but find your people. Sometimes I think we get excited by like bright, shiny people who like made something that you liked. And like, it's funny when you have a film out, I don't know if Coral, you're having this or Paula, you're having this, like when you have a film actively out, like I do at the moment, I got 6 first features submitted to me 2 weeks before Christmas. Do you want to read this for the February telefilm deadline? No, I don't. Because you don't know what a producer is. I'm not reading over Christmas a submission. And that's a ton of work to do in 4 weeks and you're not going to be ready. And you don't even know that. And so this is already off to a bad space. So I just like the group text of like, the humorous, but even it's really wide ranging. Like, who's going to this market? It's really nice to be at a market where you can have a moment where you stand in a corner with someone you don't have to be on for.
Sometimes that group text just has a lot of heated rivalry photos posted.
Warren and I were at prime time together. We had to share the love.
My phone's blowing up and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Wait for the CSAs.
I know. I was just actually thinking about producer therapy email. I think born of that, some really great things because the producer's pledge came out of that. And no one has mentioned that yet, which the year of the pandemic, Telefilm came up with some crazy algorithm that anyone had got money from us, we're going to give you a certain percentage of the money you received to be a pandemic relief fund because you're not able to work. And I think it was it you? It was you who had the idea, along with you and I and some other people, to say, let's all take our little pandemic relief money and give a certain percentage into a pool to allocate to all the people who didn't get money.
We gave 10%.
And
So it was really hard to get big producers to do it.
Yeah.
But the small producers did it.
Yeah.
We had some crazy phone calls with big producers.
Yeah.
It was cuckoo bananas.
That was like my 2020 job because Lindsay Tapp Scott and I were in charge of collecting the money. And it was so fun signing the paperwork. It was very funny.
But so good things come out of therapy. That's all I was going to say.
Yeah.
I was just going to say it's incredible how we all have very similar problems. So sometimes you'll get a call from a colleague and they're telling you this whole thing that they've been holding in and they're maybe looking for advice, just looking to share it. But it's incredible that you're thinking, oh my God, I just went through that. I thought I was the only one. So and I think maybe, I don't know if it's just our industry, but I think people are very generous. Whenever I ask a colleague to come to a screening, to give feedback, I never for a moment think there's any ounce of envy. They're always so eager to share what they think and give feedback because it's their craft and they want to share it with other people. And I mean, I think it's an incredibly generous group of people in my experience. I've really found all the advice, really comes from such a good place. And when it's true what you said, that when one of us succeeds, we all feel like we succeed because it's so hard that I feel like we're all in it together. So really, I'm really thankful for that.
Thanks again to Lauren, Coral, Karen, Stephanie, Sonya, and Paula, holding it together year after year and showing the rest of us how it's done. And a big thank you to our sponsors xoTO in the City of Toronto and IATSE Local 58 for supporting this conversation. Cheers and Chats was produced by Jen Pogue, Ashley Rains, and Bern Euler for Canadian Film Fest. Music by Brett Higgins. This episode is co-produced, edited, and sound mixed by Ryan Gordon. For more info on the fun happening now at CFF, find us at canfilmfest.ca.